My first question is, are you regularly investing into growth assets? Now, if you've got a job, you've got superannuation contributions, they're going into your retirement fund. So by default, you are, and that's really good because part of that is we need to build wealth. So later on, there's a big pile of cash and we can live off it. Pretty simple. But my question is, are you somehow, and it might not be right now, and it might be tight right now, but are you looking at ways that you can actually live on less than what you earn and invest the rest? Now, when we talk about investing the rest, that is this transfer of your human capital. So we go to work, we work an hour, we might get $30 or whatever your hourly rate is. We bring that money home, we spend it, but if we invest at least some of that money, we have transferred that human capital, the effort that we're putting to work, into growth assets, and that time will never be lost. And it can keep growing and growing and growing. So I really want to encourage you, are you regularly investing into growth assets? If you're not, what can you do today? You could literally do something as easy and as simple as, usually Thursday and Fridays, I buy lunch at work. Okay, I'm not going to do that on Thursdays now, and that $20 that I would use at lunch, I'm going to just move that over to my investment account. Done. Like, just make a change. Doesn't have to be a lot, but you need to start having this mindset and your money system structure so that every payday you are transferring some money in addition to your super into growth assets. Now, you might own an investment property. If it's principal and interest, that principal payment is the transfer of growth assets. I don't know if I want to get into the weeds heaps of if you've got a strategy with interest only mortgages. I think that can be a little bit, like, I get why people do it, but I think I think I've got one property that I've just moved to interest only because I want to do some other stuff with that principal. And I don't know how long I'm going to hold this property for, so I'm just like, yeah, I'll put it on ice. But the other properties, they're all principal and interest because I don't ever want to be under the illusion that I'm not living on less than what I earn. So every time I get paid, money is getting paid into the property, into the mortgages. I've got money going into my investment accounts each week. Categorically, I know that I'm regularly investing into growth assets. And it's not even about the amounts. It's about setting up the structure and the systems. Don't wait until you've got $100 a week free to do so. Do it now with $5 a week. You know, when people are like, oh, I'll give to charity when I've got more money, 3 or 4 years pass, they don't give a cent. You can start with $2 to charity. You can start with $2 in your investment account. You just have to start building systems and habits in your life that you're an investor into growth assets. The next thing I want to really encourage you about, because this will really help for future you, is a question of, will you own your house or have the financial wealth in your life to own your house that you live in by age 60? The reason why that's so important is age 60 is a really critical time because you do have access to your superannuation. And if you've got enough money and you're sick of doing work, you could theoretically retire from the workforce and start drawing on your superannuation. And I'm 40 now, so I've got 20 years left of really productive years, I think. I don't think I will stop at age 60 because I love what I do. I'm recording this on a Sunday and only because I wanted to, because my definition of financial success is to work when I feel like it. And guess what? Today I felt like it. So that's why I'm recording. And the clients that I've seen when I was a financial advisor come into my office, knocking on 60's door, and still have a huge mortgage, not many other assets. It's actually so heartbreaking. And I know there are people out there, you might be listening now, you are knocking on 60's door, and you're nowhere near being able to have the wealth to buy a house outright. Or I don't have an answer other than I just want everyone to go through phase 1 and 2, really build your life and try and have some type of track or wealth building thing so you can own a house when you stop producing an income. The reason why that's so important is it really caps your living costs. So absolutely, you can retire and rent. I literally know people who rent after age 60. They've got a bucket load of money though, and they just, pay rent. They're happy to do that. The problem is, if you stop working and you stop producing an income or your investments run out, you haven't capped the housing cost. So that's just one thing that over our lifespan, I really want to encourage you to try and get to the stage where you own your house to live in, no non-deductible debt by age 60. Now, if it's 63 or 64, awesome. I don't heaps care, but I just want you to have some type of target, right? The next thing, as we kind of really increase into this financial freedom and this passive income stuff, is, are you diversifying your income? One of the big challenges for me, particularly in my business and in my life, is I want to have a variety of different income sources, and I do, because at different times, different income sources will be more and will be less. And it's funny, and it really depends on what type of personality that you are. But I've heard people say, and I've probably said it myself, like, to me, having a job is more risky than me being self-employed, because when I'm self-employed, I've got multiple streams of income. When I've got a job, I've got one stream of income. And what if that income stream just stops overnight, and maybe due to market changes or business restructures or government agencies need to cut something off and your contract runs out and all that stuff? What if that income source stops and you can't replace it with an amount that's near what you're even having? So the challenge is, are you diversifying your income? And by regularly investing to growth assets, that will be a way that you can start to receive money from distributions and dividends from different types of shares, ETFs, managed funds. Much like if you are building a portfolio of commercial or residential property, that's another way that you'll have a diversified income source. So that's a really important one just to think about. Again, if you don't have the personality that wants to run their own business, that wants to be an entrepreneur, and you want to just have a job, awesome. I would say keep doing that, but just make sure you got that emergency fund, and just make sure you're always leaning into your career and upskilling and really protecting your most important asset. And everyone's most important asset is their ability to earn an income. Do you trade your time for money? We go to work, we give an hour, and we get an hour of money. Your income will cap out at maybe 8 to 10 hours per day. The only people that I've met that have become truly wealthy and financially free are those who have other income streams other than their employment and do not trade their time for money. This is very hard. And as we go up through these phases, we're in phase 3 now, right? There are people that aren't listening to this because they don't listen to this type of stuff, but there are people who will never get into phase 3 and phase 4. To get into phase 3 and phase 4 requires so much more than what Middle Australia want to give, know how to give, are even put in this position to even hear this stuff and understand it and lean into it. This stuff is really simple, but it's so hard if this is new to you. So do you trade your time for money? Because if you do, that's awesome. But if you really, really, really want to be financially free, you've got to sever that connection over time. How do you do that? Well, with great difficulty is number one, because if it is going to just be from equity investments or property investments or anything like that, you need to get an amount of capital from your job into those investments as much as possible, as soon as possible. And that's the traditional kind of FIRE thing. When it first came out, we will live on a lower income, build all this wealth, accrue this massive money, then we can stop working and get income from our investments. It's hard in practice, but my challenge to you in phase 3, if you really, really, really want to lean in to this whole financial freedom, feeling of I'm all G, I feel financially free. And I honestly reckon you can actually get there in phase 2, even if you just love what you do and you've got a budget in place. But this is like, we're turning this up to 11. How do you stop trading your time for money? For me, I've been leaning into this stuff since I was 16 years old. So it's been so ingrained for me for many years. How I stopped trading my time for money was doing things like the podcast. Podcasts can run 24 hours and I can get ad revenue from that. Online courses, books, all this stuff. Or you could run a business and employ people. Now, I'll use the example. If you're an electrician and you're really good at your job and you want to stop trading a lot of your time for money, well, you actually need to build a business, and then you can have other employees and electricians. The electricians go out. They might charge $120 an hour. You'll pay them $80 an hour. You'll get a spread on the rate, and that's a way. And realistically, the only true wealthy people that I've met are those who have had really good businesses. And my question to you is, are you prepared to really lean into this or not? If you are, strap in, we'll go there. But if you're not, I would actually say that's okay, but I still want you to be doing what you love. I still want you to be regularly building wealth, because risk taking does enter the chat if you really, really, really want to be financially free and meet your definition of financial success. If it doesn't revolve around trading time for money, a lot of people go, I've got a passive income, and they I've got an apple here, right? So my passive income is I peel the apple, cut it up, I bake the apple or whatever you do with it, and I have dried apples and I package them up and I go to the markets every Sunday, and that's how I get my passive income. That's not passive income. I love that you're doing that, but it's quite active because you've put a bit of time and effort into it. So I honestly believe the only passive income things that you can do is to buy shares in companies and ETFs, because you're literally putting money in and you get dividends and distributions twice a year without doing anything other than putting the initial capital in. I honestly think that's the only true form of passive income. Now, and that's available to anyone at any income. But when it comes to money, more is more, and you need to really lean into that if you are not wanting to take risks and just build wealth. And you can totally do it. I've met so many people that have got big investing portfolios. But the thing is, when you're in phase 3 here, you're more aware that sacrifices need to be made to win. You're not going to sit around and whinge about it. You're going to sit around and freaking get doing. you're going to do it. So I think the best thing in terms of passive income is equities, then potentially investment properties if it is positive cash flow. If it's not positive cash flow, not much passive income about that. If it's running at a loss each year, what about if you do an online course or you do something that you can sell to other people? Sure, there is a moment where you put effort into it. There is a moment where you put energy into it. But once that initial investment of your time is made, sure, there's some little admin things along the way, but the amount of time that you spend on that is going to be far, far less than the amount of money that you make from it. So how passive is your income right now? Is it built around you? I honestly think to really, really do the whole passive income thing right and make lots of money, if that's your shtick, is you need to provide a product or service that is scalable. As simple as that. I could get 1,000 new podcast listeners and make an extra $100 without really doing anything else because the podcast is scalable. Now, sure, I need to market it and do all that stuff, but the cool thing is if I spent $1,000 on marketing, I might be able to turn that into $10,000 of revenue. And I can turn that up or down as much as I want. So what can you do today to start to think about stopping trading time for money? Now, I still trade my time for money in some instances. I might do a presentation at a company. I might do a keynote talk. But when I'm giving that hour of time, there is such a premium on that. So yeah, I'll trade my hour for money. It might be the best part of $10,000 that I'm getting paid for that hour. So yeah, absolutely I'll do that. But when it comes back to you and your own life, the question is, do you trade your time for money? And do you want to change that going forward?